If you played Season of Plunder during Witch Queen, you already know what this build is. But when Lightfall came around, we actually did lose some mods that were crucial to the build beforehand. This build could literally one-shot champions. But honestly, within Lightfall, with the armored system, I think it's stronger than ever before. What's up guys? Hope everyone is doing well today. The background footage is some gameplay of the build in action. And at the end of the video, I'll have the mods on the screen for you guys to copy. If you like this kind of content and want more builds from me and want me to go more in depth with the builds, please let me know. This build did take a while to put all the puzzle pieces together, so if you like this kind of content, like this build in general, a like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated. Alright, let's get right into the video. Alright guys, this is the part of the video where I'll show you the mods, the armor, and the weapons, and the subclass, and the fragments and aspects, all that you'll be needed for the build. Alright, let's get right into it. So for the weapons, first of all, heavy, really, you can pick anything. But so I really like the raid shotgun from the Ron raid or Root of Nightmares. So basically what this does, it's a double barrel shotgun and it shoots one stasis, one solar, as it says right here. The stasis freezes if you hit all the pellets or most of the pellets, and the solar ignites the target. And I really like this because it just feeds really well into the build. And especially with the ignition, it will play into some more fragments that we have on that I'll get into later. But yeah, this is a great pick in my opinion. But you can really pick anything. Anything with incandescent also works because that will also feed into the fragments. I like Zoe's Blade because we just got the hand cannon 20% buff to it. I also like Chaos Mini tool, obviously, and then also the Battler BXR. This also got a 20% buff. So I really like this too because it especially has Demolitionist, so that's always good. Also the Amit, they got a 25% buff. And yet this also has incandescent. Some people are saying this feels really good to them. I'm not sure. I think I like the hand cannon a lot. But for high level content, I would probably pick either the BXR or Callus Mate tool. Going to the heavy, fixed odds is always good. And also Wavering Duty. This one's really good too. Alright. Let's hop on the D2 Foundry right here. So if you're looking for this kind of machine gun and you play Trials a lot, I think honestly this one might be better as a heavy machine gun. I would probably pick Incandescent or even Killing Tally would be great for PvE. And then you can pair that with a Subsistence, Ambitious, and even Field Prep and Autoloading. I might go for, I think the role I would want though is probably Autoloading, Incandescent, or even Ambitious and Killing Tally, or you can even do Subsistence and Killing Tally because that just helps it a lot. Killing Tally is a 30% increase once you get 3 kills, and that does not go away unless you reload or stow the weapon. So if you keep going with this or keep getting kills with it, especially with Subsistence or even Ambitious, when you get that mech bigger, that's going to help a lot and keep that 30% as much as possible. Alright, going back to the build. Also with this, I will be talking about the stats. I forgot to mention that earlier, but right here you can see I have triple hundreds. The one I would probably go with the most though is obviously 100 Resil. 100 Resil is always good. So 30% damage reduction for everything, towards everything in PvE. Also, I'd probably go 100 strength if you can, or just the highest strength you can. And the last one I would probably go build into is discipline. Alright, going into the subclass. So we got Sunbreaker here, Solar Titan. I go with the Hammer Soul. I just like it a lot. It's just, in my opinion, it's better than the Burning Maul. Especially when you get the exotic going, it really helps a lot. And also this could be pretty good too, but you can really pick whatever you want, whatever you prefer. So for the Barricade, I went the Rally, just so I can get it faster and put it down faster also. You could probably go with the Towering, especially if you're doing a harder content. But for this kind of build, I'm not sure if you would want to go into harder content because this is a really close-up build. It could still work still, especially because you have a decent amount of healing with the sunspots and restoration. For the lift, you can go. I go with Catapult. It's just my preference. Whatever y'all want, you can do. Obviously, Throwing Hammer. You could go with the Hammer Strike if you want, but I personally would not. I'll probably just stick with our Throwing Hammer, especially because if you're about to die, you can just hammer something real quick and then you'll get all your health back basically. And then for the grenade, I would go with the Thermite Grenade. Honestly, my second option would probably be the Solar Grenade, just so the tick damage Do whatever you like. I just do the thermite grenade because it just hits a bigger range and can feed back into my abilities faster. So for the aspects, we got Consecration. Basically what this is when you have your melee full, you slide and you click your melee, your powered melee once, you do like an uppercut into the air, you click it again and you do a slam. And basically what you're doing with that is the uppercut, you're scorching everything in its way. And then when you're slamming, everything that's scorched, even if it's not from the melee, it's still going to ignite the target. And it's going to do a hefty amount of damage. And we'll get into the exotic that will also be buffing this. Also, we have Soul Invictus. This is just for the sunspots and for restoration and the ability energy. So for the fragments, we got Ember of Char. What this does is your solar ignitions spread scorched affected targets. You could probably change this out if you wanted to. I was thinking of trying Ember of Wonder. I tried it, and it's just harder to find, especially with the Armor 2.0, and not having, right now at least, having a seeking wells. But you can honestly still try this. It's just harder to find the orb that you create, because it could be from any ignited target. The second one, we got Ember of Blistering. Basically what this does is defeating targets with your solar ignitions grants grenade energy. That just feeds into our thermite grenade, especially from our melee. So when we ignite targets with our melee, we're gonna get a hefty amount of grenade energy back if it's a big group of enemies. Next we got Ember of Eruption. Your solar ignitions have increased area of effect. This is really good. This is a huge range in my opinion. I tried it without, I tried it with. I tried so many combinations within these fragments. This just felt the best to me. So within this fragment, Ember of Eruption, it can go 8 to 12 meters, which is a big range for, especially for ignition and the amount of damage it does, because it does the exact same damage from everywhere in that dome that it creates. Ember of Searing, defeating scorched targets grants melee energy and creates a fire sprite. From this fragment, it literally gives half your melee back if you kill like 3 enemies. That's really nice with your melee with the Consecration slam. With the slam, if you kill a decent amount of enemies, you will literally get half your melee back, and then the rest you can get from the abilities and the mods. Alright, let's get into the armor and the exotic. So we have Syntheseps here. And basically what this does is when you're surrounded by enemies, it buffs your melee damage by a decent amount, and also increases your melee lunge. This is just really good. People use this a lot for builds like, we'll show you real quick. People use this a lot for Roaring Flames and Soul Invictus. This is really good for that because this already buffs your melee because the abilities, and then also this buffs it. So it's a huge. So these are the mods. So we only have one armor charge mod within this build. That's melee kickstart. So what melee kickstart is, if you don't really know, so basically when you use your melee charge, it's going to give you, depending on how many armor charges you have, it's going to give you a decent amount of melee energy back, but it has to be fully expended. So if you use during the Consecration, because when you're using the uppercut and the slam, you only use half of it depending on which part. So if you do the uppercut, you only use half of your melee. If you do the slam, you lose all of it. So when you lose all of it, this will proc. And this is just really good in my opinion, and helps with the melee uptime. For the helmet, we have hands-on, 2 hands-on. Bungie did confirm that you can't do hands-on and Ashes to Assets on the same armor piece, and because only one of them works. So that's why I do 2 hands-on. Especially because you're going to be using your melee a lot more than your grenade. Also, I have Harmonic Siphon. Rapid Solar Weapon Fountain Blows create an orb of power. That's just going to help into the build. Go back to the gauntlets. So obviously we have melee kickstart like we said before. Got heavy handed. Your powered melee final blows create orbs of power. Got momentum transfer. You causing damage with a grenade reduces your melee cooldown. This is really nice. There is a cooldown to it though. I think it's like 5 seconds maybe. It's somewhere around there in that range. If you have this thermite grenade, especially like we do, right here, it's going to be hitting targets constantly if they're in its way. So it's going to be proccing this at least 2 times per grenade charge, and by that time you'll have your melee. Going to the chest piece, this just resist mods. I just do all 3, so I do solar, arc, void. And also, if you need a mod with 4, I would recommend putting it on your chest piece. Going into the boots. The reason I'm using stacks and stacks is because if you're using your throwing hammer, you lose all your armor charges. And so when you get the melee kill with the throwing hammer, you're going to get an orb from it. and this will give you 2 armor charges. So then that leads it back into, so if you use your Consecration after you pick up your throwing hammer, you can get your melee back faster, because I tested it. If you only get 1 armor charge from the thing back, from the mod back, then you don't get your super as fast. So I just feel like it's convenient and just feels nice. Feels better in my opinion. Got innovation, so you get grenade energy when you pick up orbs, and invigoration, so you can get melee energy for picking up orbs also. So for the class item, we got Reaper. The only reason I'm using Reaper is because you're going to be using your class ability sometimes, especially if you use your Consecration on a boss or mini boss and you don't kill it and don't kill anything around it, because your melee won't recharge as fast because you didn't kill anything. So I use Reaper because when you use a class item, it's gonna reduce your melee cooldown and your grenade cooldown with Bomber and Outreach. So that just helps a lot with the build, and you're gonna get your class ability in like 38 seconds, I believe. Yep, 38 seconds. So then also when you get a kill with whatever gun you're using, you get Reaper. Also with this build, you can really use any weapons you really want. You don't need to use solar weapons, but it's just better, and it helps a lot, especially the incandescent, because with Ember of Searing, if you get an incandescent kill, everything around it gets scorched, and if you kill those scorched enemies, you'll get your melee back faster. And also, tying back into the weapons real quick, with conditional finality and the ignition that the solar shotgun shot does, it actually feeds back into your Ember of Blistering, so you get your grenade back faster also. And this helps because Ember of Eruption, it makes your area of effect larger with the ignition from the shotgun. I don't think it does Ember of Char, but I know it does these two. So for the artifact also, I got some strand stuff going on here, but the main one I would say is probably Slow Surge. This just helps a lot with your armor charges, especially in getting your melee back faster. This just ties into the melee kickstart. When this is gone, I think you might be fine, because next season there will be a new mod wherever you pick up a Fire Sprite or a Void Breach or the Stasis Shards, there's a chance that you're going to get an armor charge. So this is basically going to be forever next season, but it's not going to be as strong, because this is always 3 whenever you pick up a Solar or a Fire Sprite. It's always going to give you 3 armor charges. So this is really good. Also, if you're using your throwing hammer, when you're going around and meleeing things, you want to probably wait a second before picking up the Fire Sprite, because it doesn't proc right away. And when you pick up the orb, it only counts for 2, because you're basically right on it. So you want to wait a second after you do it, like back away from the target that you just killed, and pick up the Fire Sprite then, and you'll get 3. So you did see some background gameplay, but I will also should do a live commentary just so you can see how the build works and the gameplay loop completely. Alright, so I'm in the normal Neo Muna Lost Sector. So let's just kill these guys. So really when you want to use your melee, you want to do it when you see a huge group of enemies, because that's just you're gonna benefit the most out of that. So like right here. So what you just saw is basically I just used my melee on a huge group of enemies, and from that I basically got my whole melee back. Also I picked up a Fire Sprite. You can see it in the bottom left of my screen. It says 3 armor charges. That's just gonna help for my next one. Here, for example, I will show you. So I just used my melee there, and it expended all my melee armor charges. So if you pick up the orb, you get 2. Also on the left side of my screen, you can see it says Biotic Enhancements. That's basically the Syntheseps working. So whenever you're about to die right there, you just use your melee. But here's really how the gameplay loops works. So basically, if you can get the Syntheseps perk to proc, that works the best with this build. And also you can see the 61,000 number, that is the Syntheseps working. So if you don't get your melee back like I just did, you can also use your class ability. You can use your grenade, which I just did there, and it gave me all my melee back. And also from the hands-on, you're gonna get your super back really fast. And I don't know where the hell I just threw my hammer. Oh, I got it. Again, using the melee, normal melee. I got 2. I use my Consecration. That was only 20,000 because I didn't have the Synthesis procced. I got 3 armor charges from the fire sprite. So basically the main gameplay loop for this is you want to get a throwing hammer kill, get your armor charges, and then use the Consecration. That gives you a lot of your melee back because the melee kickstart, and then you throw your grenade to top off your melee, and then use your class ability if needed. And you always want to make sure you kill a big group of adds to get most of your melee back. So you see I don't have the melee, just throw a grenade. Basically get it all back. Especially because I have 100 strength, that helps a lot also. And if you want to stand the spots as much as possible, because that gives you melee energy back and just ability energy in general. Especially with the Soul Invictus that you see in this left side of my screen, it says 5 seconds. So you want to be in those basically as much as possible. You just want to keep picking up the fire sprites and the orbs. See how my melee does not charge all the way. Just pop your class ability. The next weapon kill that you'll get an orb, like there. So this lost sector is only -5, and I know it's pretty low. Not high, this is not high level content. I probably would not bring this build into high level content unless you can make it work with healing, because the only thing that this build suffers with completely in the high level content is the healing. The only healing in this build is the sunspots, which are pretty often, but the thing is you have to be right up in their face. I did try it in a normal Legend Lost Sector. It was pretty good. It was one on the EDZ, and there was a lot of champions in one spot, and I just used melee and basically killed all of them because I had Synthesis that was procced. But yeah, you can just basically just do this what I'm doing right now and just get melee kills so you can keep regenerating your health, keep getting restoration. Honestly, also for this build, you could probably get rid of Ember of Char and put on Mercy. This will just help you get more healing in the build. Let's do this. 60,000 number means I got the Synthesis proc. There's ignition from the weapon. So the ignition from the weapon is really not that big compared to the melee, but it's still really nice to have. If you don't have the shotgun yet, because I know it's from a raid and it's kind of hard to get for some people, and they just have really bad RNG. Really, any weapons work, like I said before. Just make sure when you have any, you could put like Witherward on, you could put Izanagi on, you could really put whatever other weapon you want for a special in the top slot. Then also have an incandescent weapon in the middle slot. Is everything dead? See, I get my melee back because I basically killed a lot of things. I couldn't get my melee right there. But either way, with the 3 or 2 armor charges, you can basically get almost half your melee back. So then you can just use your other abilities to top off the rest. Like I just got 2, maybe 3 kills right there, and I got like 60% of my melee. And also Synthesis works with your super. So you can get your super hefty amount of damage in. Show you right now. So I just saw biome enhancements. So I almost just killed that boss right there, and that's probably a couple galleys to take that guy down. So right here I'm almost dead. Picked up your hammer. Slow sunspots. I would probably use this build in like raid settings where you need ad clear, and just anywhere else where you need solar. It's probably the best areas to use this build. Got by him enhancements. There we go. 6,000 number. Killed him. Throw my melee. Throw a grenade. Keep meleeing. They stay alive. Everyone died already. Possibility. There you go.
I know it's a functional building, but the plants really are pretty. Even the nutrient slurry is too.
Alright. Alright, that's the end of the video, guys. That's my build. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. I've seen some YouTubers do Heart of Most Light for this build instead, and that does work a lot. The only problem with it, for me at least, it just didn't feel as powerful, I guess, with your melee. Because with this you can get 60,000, and with normal ignitions it's only like 20,000, which is still a lot. And I know that Heart of Most Light, if you do the rotation right, you can get your melee empowered. But for me personally, I just think Syntheseps is just really good, and especially if you need to stay alive with a melee. Yeah, I just think it's really good, especially in Season of the Plunder beforehand. I was basically one-shotting champions in really high-level settings. But that has changed a little bit now, and as Lightfall, so everything has changed, and we did lose heavy-handed. So, yeah, this build has changed a lot, but honestly, I still think it's really good and has a good place in this game. If you guys enjoy this kind of video and want more builds and stuff like that, please let me know. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy and like, subscribe. Fuck you.